Okay. Okay, welcome to the annual ASBU, ABU and WorldDAB Technical Workshop webinar series. Thank you for your interest. We hope that you'll find this series useful. This year, we are focusing on the theme of DAB Plus, Proven Economics with Continuous Technical Innovation. We have 14 experts who will provide the latest information from current economic observations to the latest technical updates and solutions. So first, a little bit of housekeeping for Q&A. Please enter your questions in the Q&A tab at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Our team will collate all questions in readiness for the Q&A session at the end of each day. And we will answer as many questions as time allows on the day. However, all questions will be answered and will be available after the webinar series is completed. So time is short, so we're now going to jump to some opening remarks from our hosts. First to Bernie O'Neill, the Project Director at WorldDAB, then Bassil Zoubi, Technical Director at the Arab States Broadcasting Union, and then Afiq Zulfaqar, Manager of Production and Delivery Technology at the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union. So now, over to you, Bernie, please, for your opening remarks.
Thank you, Les, and good morning and good afternoon and good evening to everyone, wherever you are. So on behalf of WorldDAB, I'd like to welcome you all for joining this webinar series. Can you hear me okay just before I keep going? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So look, this collaboration between WorldDAB and ASBU and ABU is at the heart of everything we do. Collaboration is key to the successful deployment of DAB+, and we see the fruit of that collaboration around the world. So today's webinar reflects the spirit of that collaboration. We have an excellent program lined up with wonderful speakers from across our ecosystem. So I'd just like at this point to say thanks to all our speakers for sharing their expertise, and thank you for joining this webinar. Please, we would actively encourage you to ask questions and interact with the speakers throughout 3 days. And that's it from me for the moment. I'll speak in shortly with a global update. So thank you and enjoy the webinar.
Thanks, Bernie. That's great. Bassil, would you like to make a few opening remarks?
Yes, thank you all. And I don't have too many things to add on the top of what Bernie has started. But for us as a regional organization, we have been working with our colleagues from the different broadcasters and with the WorldDAB Consortium. We have been successful in many occasions in sharing experience, getting the know-how from the people who have already started, and also get the necessary support from the World Consortium. So our members have been successful in many occasions in sharing the same vision and objectives that we are all sharing, and they have improved their stand and the way they are deploying and planning for their technology. So one more time, I would like to welcome you all. I think this is one of the most important events for our members, and I believe all the broadcasters alike, and where we share the vision with the industry and with different stakeholders in this domain. So I don't want to take a lot of your time, but you will hear from me on the ASBU progress and progress of DAB Plus deployment. Thank you all.
Thanks,
and
Bassil.
I refer to you, Liz.
Thanks, Bassil. That's great. And Afiq, would you like to state your opening remarks as well, please?
Thank you, Dr. Les, and hello, everyone. Good day to all the distinguished speakers and colleagues from WorldDAB, ASBU, and all the parties. And on behalf of Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union, ABU, it's my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the ABU, ASBU WorldDAB Technical Workshop. And on behalf of ABU, we are delighted to co-host this 3 days workshop in collaboration with our value partners, WorldDAB and ASBU. And I want to extend our sincere appreciation to both of organization as well as to all our speakers and experts for their time, commitment, and contribution to share their knowledge and experience with us. And it's good to conduct this kind of webinar showcase of the developing digital radio, especially in the Asia Pacific region. Is one of the most diverse broadcasting landscape in the world. You can see countries at different stage of digital radio development, from those with well-established digital services to others that are just beginning to explore the transition from analog to digital broadcast. So with this workshop or webinar, I hope that we can share insight, knowledge. We can have a comprehensive discussion among ourselves. And over the next 3 days, hope that you will hear from an expert and expert on the directly involved in the planning, deployment, and operation of DAB services. And I encourage all the participants to take this opportunity to actively engage throughout the workshop and ask questions and make the most of the expertise gathered here over the next 3 days. And once again, thank you for joining us. I hope and wish you a productive and informative and enjoyable workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Afiq. That's great. And thank you for all of our opening remarks. We're going to move on directly now to the global update part of the program. We'll start with Ms. Bernie O'Neill from WorldDAB, and then Bassil Zoubi from ASBU will talk about the Arab states. So, Bernie, can you please share your screen? Thank you.
I will do my best to do so. Is that sharing okay?
That's good.
Excellent. Well, good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be the first speaker in this workshop. This is, as I said, exactly the right kind of event we should be doing with our partners. So looking at the global situation of DAB, while DAB is firmly established as the backbone of broadcast radio in Europe, it's increasingly important that this is no longer a European story. And we can see that looking at this map, that there's real momentum across all regions, including in the Asia Pacific and the Middle East, North Africa, and the rest of Africa. So what we see is DAB Plus is now the reference digital radio standard around the world, or certainly one of them. And I think around 1/3, when we counted, 1/3 of the world's countries are engaged in some way with DAB Plus at different stages of deployment. And what's interesting is that all of the markets are deploying and adopting DAB Plus in different ways, depending on their starting point and their policy frameworks and their ambitions. And you'll hear more about that later in the webinar. But for now, I just wanted to give a couple of examples. Turkey made its commercial launch of DAB Plus in 2025. They launched from the Çamlıca Tower in Istanbul with there were no FM frequencies left in the city, so the Minister of Transport was decided to adopt DAB as the solution, and thereby unlocking 448 new channels. So there are now at least 22 new stations on air, or current stations on air, and there's a 30-province tower infrastructure project that will roll out nationally in Turkey. So really impressive there. In Indonesia, they continue to build out their DAB infrastructure with 3 new transmitters installed in Java and an active program of distributing DAB Plus receivers to local authorities and broadcasters. RRI is also a WorldDAB member, and they've been hosting capacity building workshops, which we've been happy to work with them on. So this is a country with 17,000 islands and 270 million people. So the case for a resilient one-to-many broadcast infrastructure is really self-evident in this market. Looking at Thailand, well, you'll hear a lot more about that from Anupon, but I think it's just really interesting to flag that they are making progress in deploying DAB+, and they have built-in automatic safety alert feature, the DAB+, unique to DAB+, this particular automatic safety alert feature, which you will also hear more about later in the webinar. So I'll say no more about Thailand. You'll hear it more in detail from Anupon. In Saudi Arabia, the last example, we're seeing a large-scale coordinated deployment of DAB+, and that's now been completed across 9 cities. And it's supported by a satellite backhaul and a centralized multiplexing platform in Riyadh. And what the map here shows that it's not just about the cities, but coverage is also being extended along the roads and the main corridors, ensuring continuous digital radio in the car. So that's a good example, I think, of a market taking a strategic infrastructure-led approach and building scale from the outset. So just quickly looking at receivers, when we counted most recently, our latest infographic reveals that over 166 million receivers have been sold. That's consumer and automotive combined. And looking at particularly at the automotive sector, the auto sector has fully embraced DAB+. Regulation is in place at the EU level, which has meant that over 97%, practically all new cars sold in Europe are now with DAB+ default as standard. And all the major manufacturers, Toyota, Hyundai, Honda, BMW, all of them, they all support DAB+, and pretty near most of them are actually members of WorldDAB, and we collaborate with them quite closely. So this means basically that never before has it been easier for markets to launch DAB+, because there is this installed base of DAB+ in cars. So just to sum up on the global update, Europe is mature and growing. The story is now one of consolidation in mature markets and real momentum in new ones. So the mature ones, UK, Germany, Norway, Denmark, Switzerland, Netherlands, France, and Italy, they form the strong backbone. Norway completed FM switch off, of course. Then the more emerging markets, Greece, the public broadcaster there is rolling out nationally. Ireland, a small country, but they've got a high power trial that is proving really, really popular. So we're very hopeful for fast progress there. And also in Spain, there is a legal framework that is advancing there. So that's all very exciting. And of course, for this audience, the Asia Pacific and the Arab States region is particularly relevant. And, here Australia remains, the pioneer. In-car listening now exceeds 10 million. And I've mentioned the other markets, but also Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, Myanmar, they're actively engaged and we're in conversations with them. And I was in a session at Broadcast Asia just last month and speaking on the theme of digital radio and hybrid radio. And the conversation reinforced something that we hear across the APAC region. So it's not a question of whether broadcast radio still matters. It's how DAB+ positions radio for the next decade. In the Arab states, as I said, Saudi Arabia, but also they join Kuwait, Bahrain, and Tunisia. And then in Africa, there's a strong pipeline with activities, DAB+ broadcasts in Ghana, Senegal, Uganda, and Kenya, and several other African markets. And we work closely with the various bodies there that include CRASA and ATU. So I just want to spend a very quick moment on one of the most important emerging themes in our sector, and that is resilience, and specifically automatic safety alerts. There is a dedicated session on this later in the webinar, but just to say at this point that broadcast radio's unique strengths, its universal, free-to-air, one-to-many resilience, these are not legacy characteristics. They're precisely what connected radio and connected audio still needs. So the IP delivery is powerful and we should embrace it, of course, but hybrid only works because broadcast is strong underneath it. And resilience is now such a key strategic issue. It's not just a technical one. We know that mobile networks are vulnerable and they're prone to overload in crisis. And this is exactly when people need trusted information the most. So I'll not go into too much detail on the features of ASA, more on that from Lindsay Cornell, the chair of our technical committee, later in the webinar. I think it's on Wednesday, but check the program. And so that's it from me. I'll hand you over now to Bassil.
Okay, Bassil. Please share your screen. Here we go.
All right, thank you, Bernie. You have just concluded and shown a worldwide progress, and that's really impressive. And I think you have covered some of the ASBU, but here I'm sharing with you different. It's not different view. It's the actually the we are sensing how our members are taking on deployment and implementing the technology. Many of our colleagues will just go over the advantages of the technology and why they have been successful, and also will touch on the commercial side. But I think we are, as ASBU, we're looking into how our members are dealing with the situation of deploying this technology, since ASBU has adopted the technology, and the ASBU has many directives and recommendations to the member on this. And also we are doing special support for the members in the deployment, and making sure that once they start their technology, the deployment, it is fit for their needs, and they will have successful launch. So we have issued a survey. We would like to see how our members are looking into how they have worked to deploy and how they plan to deploy and implement the technology. So the questionnaire objective was to have strategic insights and challenges, the DAB deployment status, as well as the technical aspects of the technology, and see where they have any support on any of these areas is needed from our side or from our colleagues at the consortium. Just looking into the DAB deployment status, we have diverse, the summer was very short, and, the situation was not helping on many occasions for the members. And we know that it is a hot area, so many of the members are leaving for vacation, and it is not a really working season. But anyhow, we were successful in obtaining more than 50% of the responses from our members, and they have shown that the deployment stages, some of them are on the commercial DAB plus deployment, which covers Tunisia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and they are progressing on the level of deployment for commercial use. Some of them are still in the experimental and pilot, just like Algeria, but you will hear from our friend Ammar. He will present that they are moving to a commercial by the end of this year. Although it is not on large scale, but it is the start of the commercial service maybe by the end of this year. Also, there is the pre-launch and planning stage that is done by 5, 6 members, and they are planning for the 26, 27 service start. But let's wait and see how they will progress in this domain. This is a very important one, the strategic and insights and challenges. Most of the challenges is coming from the outsides. The broadcasters, the engineers are focused and they know that what they want. And this is from our experience. They are ready to deploy the technology. They are aware of its advantages, the green impact, the low cost operation, and so on. But they are trying to work hard with the outside agencies that are already supporting the public broadcasters, or they have interchanges with them. So with regards to funding, we know that this is something that has to be worked upon, and usually with the inflation and so on, they have been suffering to obtain the necessary funding for new projects, but still they are determined to do that. With regards to the deployment of network plannings, on the same level, they are working onto the receivers, which means they are trying to find incentives for the deployment to make available the receivers to the public, like tax exemption, subsidized low-income families, and so on, which is an important aspect, and that requires different stakeholders interaction. Also, the market readiness, which means you have to regulate where the receivers available in the vehicle or in the portable and households, which is where most of the content is consumed. Definitely the regulatory gaps to guide the future policies and coordination. This is because it is clear vision for us as broadcasters. Yet the regulators, there are different regulators, the frequency regulators, the audiovisuals regulators. They need to have clear vision, just like the broadcasters. But in many occasions, I found that this cycle is broken and it is not interconnected, because even on the national level, sometimes it is established, but going few months later, when there is a new changes, then you have to start all over. So this is part of it. The part of the regulatory also is to mandate the receivers in the vehicles. We know the cost of the receivers will be not comparable, and the price of integrating the receivers is very, very low, has no percentage to the total cost. But once if you want to upgrade, then the prices may be doubled or tripled sometimes, and that's why the automotive receivers mandate is very, very important. With regards to our members, we find out that some of them have reached 80%, and they were successful on that, and they have found the necessary funding to do the network. And now, while they have mandatory receivers integration, and they are enjoying some of that success, the others are medium coverage, which is just like Tunisia, Libya, Oman reported 50 to 80% coverage. And then we are talking about the startups or the low-tier coverage, which is mainly Mauritania, Palestine, Algeria, reflecting their pilot or early stage deployment. Recommendations, we have found that just like what we have been talking about for many, many years, clear regulatory frameworks within the country is necessary. Legal and market coordinations is very, very important. Consumer investment and receivers grows, but we have to make it more available. And this requires, as I said, even a third party, a fourth party to be involved, just like, the finance ministry and the specifications and the commerce ministry and so on. Really, this is a huge network of stakeholders that got to be involved. And we need to keep speaking up loud as broadcasters to involve all of them. And definitely the public awareness campaigns. This is a very, very successful. We have noticed that its success in Kuwait, in Bahrain, but every new broadcasters, once established a commercial network, even before that, they can start public awareness campaign. So by this, I conclude my conclusions and the overall view of the Arab States Broadcasting Union. And I'm looking forward to see our colleagues in other regions, whether Asia or Africa, on their progress on this domain. And I revert to you, Mr. Les, and thank you. Thank you all. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Bassil. It's very exciting to see the progress in the Arab states, really moving forward now. And I really thank you for highlighting the need to that mandate to get DAB receivers into cars, just like in Europe. It makes a huge difference. So we can see an accelerating adoption around the globe, particularly Europe leading away with Asia Pacific and Arab and the Middle East closely following now. Lots of interest. That's fantastic. So now let's move on to some economics. We have our WorldDAB president, Ms. Jacqueline Bierhorst, to present the economics of DAB. So Jackie, very great to have you on board. Please share your presentation. Thank you.
Now you can hear me, I think.
Yes, that's good.
Yes. Good. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's so lovely to be here amongst our friends, all fighting for prominence of broadcast radio everywhere in the world. And I think it is so important. And today I'm allowed to talk about why DAB Plus makes strategic and economic sense for broadcasters. And I'm going to give you examples of business cases so that you know that if you spend your money on keeping broadcasts, as we just heard, we all know it is so important to keep broadcasts up and running next to online, because internet is not robust enough in these times. So I'm just for that. Broadcast radio remains free to air. It's trusted and resilient. But broadcasters also need more capacity, new audiences and new services and new revenues. Interesting. And my argument is that DAB Plus enables all four of them. So, as my colleague James Critland in Australia always defines radio and its future as a human connection and a shared experience. And I think that is what makes it different from any other audio product. And there are so many, but why is radio so intensely strong around the globe? Because broadcast radio makes this possible now and in the future. So it serves a different role than internet radio, and it's important to understand why it is so important that DAB helps there. because we see an audio market that is changing. New services are being developed like streaming audio, podcasts, YouTube, and audio books, and consumer preferences are shifting. And they're competing for share of ear. And the competition is being transformed. And we also know it's difficult to keep radio in the forefront of the car, which was always so normal to have it there. So it's essential to have a strategy for broadcast radio and to do it all together and do the same thing. That's how we keep broadcast radio in the forefront of dashboards, for example. So DAB+ offers opportunities to innovate. For broadcasters, this is a classic example from the UK. Once upon a time, Absolute Radio had one FM frequency one radio station on analog. Now they have 10 radio stations on digital. So their portfolio allows them now to target on different audiences. And with that, they tripled their audience from 1.7 million to 5.3 million in Q1 of this year. So I'm not going into depth on this one, but afterwards, it's always nice to look at it. And you've seen it before, but this one is updated. The UK media operator Ofcom compiled this timeline showing how digital radio brand extensions have blossomed in the UK. And here you see it really helps to grow. And I said operator, it's regulator, Ofcom. It rhymes. So another example, LBC, London. It was a news and still is a news and talk radio stations for 40 years. And it was based in London. And it had an FM frequency there. But due to DAB+, they had to go national. They went national. And it tripled their audience as well. So 3.6 million, and they're very happy with it. But also the listeners are very happy with it because they can reach people that they couldn't reach before. So this is about reach examples. But reach brings also commercial successes, particularly in high competitive markets. In Australia, this is an example from Australia, SCA is launching new hard radio station, brand station on DAB+, and ARN is using DAB+ to take key shows nationwide, reaching markets where analog simply is not available. And I want to share some other examples that pull together these financial successful themes. Sunrise Radio, which was the first FM station in the UK for Asian audience, launched in December 1989 on FM in Bradford as a Bradford City radio station. It has expanded on DAB+ across Bradford and other key UK cities, including Leeds and Manchester. It has launched a second digital station on DAB+, Sunrise Radio Gold, playing timeless hits and non-stop memories. And this wouldn't have been possible on a crowded FM band. Now, the expansion to new markets and launch of new stations on DAB+ has grown the audience substantially. They demonstrate how dedicated community-focused vision combined with strategic digital investments such as DAB+, can deliver exceptional audience growth and long-term industry impact. At our summit last year, the station director Rai Parmar said, winning these new DAB+ multiplexes licenses wasn't simply a business milestone. It was about building a digital future that reflects the UK cultural richness. That's what this station did, and it's fantastic. It's a superb organization. At our automotive event last month, WorldDAB member Xperi shared exclusive data for Germany from their cars, demonstrating the strength of DAB+ in cars. In their DTS AutoStage equipped vehicles in Germany for this year to June 2026, 90% of in-car listening is through DAB+. So total in-vehicle listening, DAB+, 89.8%, and FM 10.2%. And it's fantastic that with this technology, we can actually see real time how people are listening to radio in their car through FM or through DAB+. And DAB+ commanding lead signals are a clear trend. Automakers are actively choosing DAB as the preferred in-car listening experience. It's the default. The second most popular station has 0 FM listeners. 80s is the second most listened to station in our vehicles, and second only to SWR3. FM listening 0. 80s broadcast exclusively on a DAB. In total, 8 of the top 20 most popular stations are DAB+ only. So DAB+ is a success story there. Drivers actively tune in to DAB+ stations they could not receive on FM. DAB+ Reach unlocks now the new audiences for digital-first broadcasters, which is really exceptional. That was not the case, so we really grow business. We have two more success stories from Germany. Radio Sunshine Live plays electronic music in all its facets, from popular hits to progressive club sounds, including shows from international stars like Chesto and Armin van Buuren and Paul van Dyk. Sunshine Live thrills over 1 million listeners every day, nationwide via DAB+, the web app and smart speakers. The graph shows its audience growth nearly doubled in 6 years' time. That's when you have a good digital strategy. DAB+ has been part of its transformation strategy, bringing strong growth audience across Germany. Now a similar story from Bob. Bob is Germany's rock station, and it is only on FM in Hesse, but it is able to broadcast nationwide through DAB+. Here's the timeline of DAB+, of Bob's growth. It started in 2008 in Hesse, adding national broadcasting on DAB+ in 2011. By 2020, it was Germany's biggest rock radio station, and it's now switching on FM and enjoying record-breaking audience in reach. So it doesn't have to have expensive FM antennas anymore. It doesn't need it because the listening is very little through those FM antennas, so they choose to switch them off. And it's organic. It's not forced by anyone to do this. So here's the audience track from 1.4 million to 4.2 million in 2025. So DAB+ demonstrates audience growth here just as well as in the UK or as you saw in Australia. And this is a really nice one. DAB+ allows cool ideas, new one, pop-up stations, global media, and UK partnered with Netflix to launch Stranger Things. I don't know if you know the series on Netflix, but it's really, really popular, and it's a country of its own. And Stranger Things is a new world, but in Stranger Things there is this radio station, and that radio station is called WSQK. And what they've done together with Global and Netflix is they turned this radio station into real life right now. So they made a pop-up station, a fully immersive radio station from the world of Stranger Things on DAB+ and IP. And if we look at it in more detail, the radio station became the campaign for the launch of a new series, the new series 6, I think it was. It was 39 days on air, and it had 3 distribution channels, and it was fully fictional radio stations, but it sounded completely real. Not an ad around the title, but an audio product from the title itself. Global turned the campaign into a real radio station with real presenters, real programming, and real distribution. And the fan base of Stranger Things, which is huge, was completely going berserk. The breakthrough with this product is that audio itself became the world people stepped into. So people could actually become part of the world just by listening. A fully branded station linked to Stranger Things. Real distribution with DAB+. With DAB+, and global player worldwide was also there and on smart speakers. And with DAB+, it was only in London. And an audio product emerging from Stranger Things universe itself. Now, it was a fully developed radio station, WSQK The Squawk, launched around Stranger Things 5, not a branded stream, a real programmed radio station, non-stop 80s hits, a real with DJs Vance Goodman and Mindy Flair, and audio processed via the audio sounded, by the way, brilliant for technicians around you. They really made an exclusive station sound like the 80s. And so it was a real success. Distribution in London, the global player and the smart speaker, and it was on air from 24th of November till the 1st of January. So it had audio as a proposition, which is not possible on FM, radio as an experience layer, combined DAB+ and IP, and they sold this idea and not the airtime. So it was completely embedded and it embodies everything. And it grew listener base. So this growth in listeners, and I go back to UK now, I leave WSQK behind, is driving up revenues for commercial broadcasters. Here we see UK commercial revenue over the last decade increased by over 1/3. In 25, the UK achieved its highest ever advertising revenue, hitting £747 million, and surpassing the previous record of 740 million set in 2022. In a context where online advertising has exploded, for radio to perform this strongly is testament to strength of the brands and the reactions of the listeners when you have a good digital strategy with DAB+ at the heart. But that's not just in the UK. Here's how this looks in my home market in the Netherlands, where commercial revenues have increased by nearly 40% between 2016 and 2025. So I believe we have identified that DAB+ digital radio can help you answer the challenges from my first slide. It allows you to have all these things while maintaining the core benefits of broadcast radio as free to air, trusted and resilient. I now set you the challenge of identifying the next practical step required in your own market to unlock audience growth, new services and additional advertising revenue. We at WorldDAB are ready to support you at all stages. That's also why we're here today and in your digital journey. So I'm very much looking forward to being part of the radio days in Asia in Jakarta from the 1st of September till the 3rd of September. And if you're there, I'd love to meet you. So if you want to, Les and I will be there and we can be contacted through by the project office. So this is for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, for those sensational stories of success. And it's very clear when you start to do these case studies that DAB is really making a difference to so many countries' radio infrastructure and capabilities. It's keeping them healthy. It's letting them advance with different service types, different genres, and making more profit, covering more people. Everybody's happy. So it's all a good news story. Okay, so thank you, Jackie, for that. I'm now going to do a piece on 5G. So I'll share my screen and we'll talk through that. Here we go. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that okay. So This presentation is on economics of DAB+, and in particular, it's a comparison of DAB+ and 5G broadcast for radio distribution. So what we do is we compare those two standards, and I call it 5G MBS, which is actually the technical term, multicast broadcast service. And what we'll do in this presentation is from a perspective of wide area free-to-air radio distribution. We'll look at a brief review of 5G MBS, who is driving 5G MBS, what's happening about receivers, also very important, home in on some of those economic aspects, and we'll wind up with some observed conclusions. So what is 5G MBS to start with? Well, it's a broadcast functionality that's being integrated into 5G mobile standards. And in terms of radio distribution, considering all of 5G, we've got three distinct possibilities of use for distribution. The first is mobile streaming. Now, we already do that over 4G and 5G networks. It's currently being used to deliver radio programming over IP. Then we have 5G MBS through 5G low power, low tower mobile networks, your standard MNOs. This is possible if MNOs wish to implement 5G MBS. They don't have to. It's an optional extra within the standards. And the third way of delivering it is through high power, high tower infrastructure. And this is a proposal from non-mobile network operator organisations, and is seen as a way to supplement radio and TV distribution, as well as provide additional new data services. So let's look at some of those use cases. So here's the use cases as summarised by Roden Schwartz, a company that's heavily involved with 5G broadcast. And they summarise it in 8 different use cases: live casting, public safety, vehicle casting, venue casting, esports, e-learning, live commerce, and video on demand. There's no mention of radio or even permanent DTT. One of the leading organisations developing this is, yes. So 5G MBS has a lot of useful applications, but current evidence suggests that 5G broadcast is not demonstrated yet the more economic or resilient aspects for free-to-air radio distribution than DAB. Next slide. Okay, so let's look at reception modes. And what we see here is that the reception modes are pretty similar to what we see for both radio and TV. It's not surprising. It's a radio communications environment. We see a few extras, but there is certainly some focus on handheld devices. And I think one of the things I've observed over studying this for some time now, probably over 10 years, is that the main focus seems to be on handsets, on smartphones. We also see here some, in table 2, under antenna gain, values around 5.8 minus 5.8 dBi, which I think is pretty optimistic, but we'll have to look at that a bit more closely as time goes by. Now, this is from EBU TR 063 study. It was done a couple of years ago. And we also have from that study, part of it, a study done in Germany, which compared DTT from high power, high tower sites. And this is one of the proposals, is to start providing radio and television over 5G MBS using these high power, high tower sites. And what we see here, looking at DVB-T2 compared with 5G MBS, a range of issues. Firstly, we see that outdoor portable coverage from DVB-T2 offers 27 megabits per second relative to 5G MBS at 7 megabits for comparable coverage. For indoor portable, 5G MBS can deliver up to 16 megabits per second, but with reduced population coverage relative to DVB. So this study clearly shows that DTT will deliver more content to more people in outdoor and indoor portable environments, and DTT delivers more services under all scenarios. So to achieve service delivery and population coverage parity, 5G MBS will require more sites than DTT. So that's more money. Now, that's for DTT. What about for DAB? Well, one thing we have to remember is the DAB uses QPSK modulation. And what we see in DTT is it often, well, it virtually always uses higher order modulation, 16 QAM, 64 QAM, even 256 QAM. And those higher order modulations require more power. So that means that if radio is delivered over the same areas, and let's say can even do comparable coverage, it will use a lot of capacity because it will have to be delivered using the low order modulation of QPSK. So the big advantage for 5G appears to be that it works in a smartphone. We'll talk about that a bit more shortly. Okay, so let's look at the drivers. Who's driving 5G MBS? Well, first of all, we have broadcast infrastructure providers. We have certain systems providers such as Rohde & Schwarz. We have chipmaker Qualcomm, and we have the 5G MAG group, which is also finding new applications for 5G MBS. Often not radio and TV, more data. Drivers against 5G MBS. What we haven't seen is really any noise from mobile network operators. Noticeably quiet. Now, there are use cases that they're interested in, particularly venue casting, and many MNOs around the world have done trials over the last few years. So they're quite familiar with the technology. It's whether they're going to support it on a day-to-day basis in the future. So let's look at the technical. So technically, release 19 is being completed, hopefully by the end of this year. It's being finalized, and it's the last significant technical update to what was originally EMBMS or FEMBMS. And this will add time and frequency interleaving to the signaling, to the actual delivery of the signal, which will improve its performance slightly. It won't improve it as much as we have with dedicated time and frequency interleaving in DAB or DVB, but it will provide some improvement. On the business case, no viable business case has yet been proposed or demonstrated. So we're still waiting for that. And we do know that there's a 5G business strategy task force that's investigating, and that includes, it's basically being coordinated by Broadcast Networks Europe, and includes operators such as TDF, Media Broadcast, RAI, and Qualcomm, the chip maker. But nothing from MNOs to my knowledge. Interesting. So we'll see how that pans out. Let's look a bit more about some lessons from previous broadcaster smartphone initiatives. Now, we've been trying in DAB to get a DAB receiver in smartphones for many years. We had a brief success with LG around 2018-19, and it worked very well, actually. However, it didn't work business-wise because the network operators did not want to support it and would not offer those products to the audience. So it ended up failing because the MNOs were the gatekeepers of smartphone sales. Now, that's not in every country, but as it turned out in that time, that's 8 years ago, certainly in countries like Australia and Europe, they were the big gatekeepers. And we've also seen other, that was for radio. We've seen video, and in fact, DMB, which is part of the family of DAB, which delivers video and was used quite extensively, actually, in South Korea in the late noughties, had some success. But what happened is around 2010, 4G started to get introduced, and we saw at that point that video streaming over mobile became possible. And what happened is there was a gradual migration for video to go through smartphones, for traveling in particular, for commuting in South Korea. So it gradually was reduced in its use. So since then, we've seen media flow, and we've seen DVB-T2 Lite also come and go. There might have been some little bit of success with DVB-T2 Lite, but I'm not sure exactly where it was. And now we've got 5G broadcast trying to do the same, except it's more multi-service. It's not just trying to deliver video. And that might be the clue to make it actually succeed. So history doesn't really support it for radio and video, but maybe for data services, there will be some success. Receivers. There's a lot of words here, and I'm not going to say them all. What I will say is that the chip makers are leading the way, particularly Qualcomm. There's some interest in Samsung and MediaTek. In terms of smartphone manufacturing, the only one that's really done anything is Motorola with their test smartphone, which was used in Expo in Brazil in 2025 and Mobile World Congress, I think, in 25 and 26. But no manufacturer has publicly committed to a specific launch date at this point in time. And as said previously, MNOs have made no commitments regarding whether they will sell 5G MBS enabled smartphones or whether they'll even support the service at this point in time. So still a bit of water to come under the bridge to know where this is going to land. And we talked about Broadcast Networks Europe. They propose to get mandatory inclusion legislated in the EU. That's up for grabs in the Digital Networks Act. I'm not sure where that's gone. I'm not privy to the details of that, unfortunately, but there is some movement there. I don't know if that will succeed or not. If it doesn't, well, we've seen all the other roadblocks. Let's look at those economic aspects. How will 5G MBS be funded? Well, it's in addition to DAB Plus and DTT infrastructure. So radio broadcasters will continue to deliver DAB Plus as well as legacy FM, and 5G MBS will be in addition an extra cost. Same thing goes for TV broadcasters. So how will radio and TV broadcasters benefit? Well, if you have it in a smartphone, will it attract more consumers? Maybe, but there's no proven positive business case at this point. And for radio, most listeners will stream if they don't not have an available DAB Plus receiver. Will MBS be more beneficial than streaming? Well, we know that advertisers, and this is very prevalent in the Asian market in particular, like to have virtually instant feedback on streaming, on their advertising on streaming. And 5G MBMS may not be able to provide that because it requires a back channel. So how that will work. And finally, the focus is on smartphones. What about cars? No indication yet of where that's going. Greenfield countries. There's a lot of greenfield countries that have got interest. They've got trials for DAB, or they're looking at DAB for the future. Well, this is where no digital broadcast exists now. And I think EBU TR63 indicates that there'll be more sites required for the use of 5G MBMS rather than DAB+. And in fact, we can see that in this table. We know the technical capabilities. DAB+ is designed for radio, MBS is focused on video and data applications more than radio. DAB Plus has got over 1,000 models of receiver. First possible commercial products for receivers is probably around 2028, so a fair way off. We know that network costs, both CapEx and OpEx, DAB Plus is much lower than FM, but it's the 5G MBS is higher than DAB Plus because of more transmitter site requirements. Broadcaster costs, as I said, is in addition. DAB Plus is certainly gradually replacing FM. It's done it in Norway. It's gradually doing it in Germany now, other places, Italy perhaps. MBS is in addition to current distribution methods. And network resilience, well, DAB with high power, high tower is very resilient, as we've seen. We'll hear more about ASA and that later on in this webinar series. MBMS using high power, high tower sites will have the same resilience, but if it's low power, low tower, it will not. It'll have the same problems in disaster, in times of disaster. So on the road ahead for 5G MBS to succeed, MNOs will require a positive business case for the introduction and use of 5G MBS in their networks. MNOs in many countries will need to supply 5G MBS smartphones at minimal extra cost, although some countries have non-MNO smartphone sales outlets, and that's particularly in Asia and Africa. MNOs will likely need to provide low power, low tower hybrid mode capability as 5G MBS with seamless streaming switching during introduction to make it ubiquitous. And that might be a complication itself. And MNOs will likely need to work collaboratively with high power, high tower broadcast tower operator organizations providing 5G MBMS in some countries. We'll see how that goes and whether legislation forces that to happen. So to conclude, DAB Plus is already mature, widely developed, and commercially proven for radio. 5G MBS may have value for specific or complementary applications. There's many applications that aren't radio. And the role of 5G BMS as a primary radio distribution platform still depends on receiver availability, MNO support, and a sustainable business model. And finally, the resilience of DAB Plus systems and its emergency warning system /ASA is much greater than 5G MBS in times of major crisis, particularly when 5G MBS is dependent on low power, low tower networks. So an economically difficult road ahead to achieve global adoption of 5G MBS as a primary digital broadcast radio distribution method. I hope that's been useful. And thank you for listening to that. We're going to move on quickly. We now have David Fernandez-Corrida to talk about the public policy toolbox. This is a really, really interesting development that's been recently done by WorldDAB, and we are privileged to have the author of that public policy toolbox talking to us today. So, David, please share your screen and tell us about the public policy toolbox. Thank you.
You're on mute.
Thank you for having me here today. I think that now you can finally hear me. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. As Dr. Sable introduced me, I'm here because I have recently authored a piece of work, a piece of research for WorldDAB, looking into dozens of regulations and legislations around WorldDAB across the world. We have also had some interviews with different regulators and people in charge of policy making in Europe, because of course there has been a lot of development in Europe, but also in other areas of the world, for instance in Thailand, in Ghana, in Kenya, and so on. And here I would like to present today some of the highlights of this report. Right. For many years, you have probably heard this idea that for DAB, the goal is to compete on content and to collaborate on technology. To this, now we should add frame with public policy. What do I mean with this? So technology has been proven and tried and tested for many years. So basically it works. Of course, you need to do some planning, but the technical solutions are out there and they are robust, and basically technology works, right? Then for content, we have the experience of the different countries where journalists and producers have been able to find relevant content for new audiences, whether it is specialized music channels, new channels for young people, for kids, for minorities, for seniors, or specialized thematic channels on news or sport, just to name a few. So the creative people have been able to do the job and create some compelling content. And we have seen Jackie's examples of different content that is now very appealing to different audiences across the world. Now the next lever, the next push is public policy. Here is the most powerful lever that you have to make a quick and an efficient rollout and adoption of DAB+. So public policy choices can have a tremendous effect of, for instance, influencing the timing of development, the level of competition that you have in the market, or the balance between innovation and consumer protection. And they have three main effects. They help you identify potential benefits, anticipate potential risks, which is a very important aspect, and finally create opportunities for all the different stakeholders. And I want to focus on this part, on this issue of the stakeholders, because one of the key issues, one of the key challenges for DAB+, for a successful rollout and adoption, is to find benefits for all stakeholders involved. So audiences want to find a more diverse and appealing offer to them. Many new players want to access the market, and they are not able to do that in FM because FM is already crowded in most of the markets across the world. So this is an opportunity for them. But also you already have incumbent broadcasters, and those incumbent broadcasters, they want to continue and ensure that they have a business in the future that is sustainable. And if possible, they want to expand their business. And we have seen already examples shown by Jackie in the UK, Australia, Germany, or the Netherlands, to name a few. So policy making is about finding a good policy making is about finding the right benefits for the different stakeholders involved. All of them need to find benefits here, and then the regulator, the policymaker, need to find compromises between them to make this happen, right? This is the art of policy making and the key to unlock the benefits of this technology. Let's go through different examples. These are just some examples of some of the different key public policies that we identified, that we classified in 4 areas: strategy, licensing, transmission, and reception, right? So for a strategy, one of the key elements that we identified there was to involve the different players, the different stakeholders in an industry trade body, right? So policymakers, regulators can have a clear body to which communicate, and this body brings together the different players in the market. It can be a body that already exists, the Association of Broadcasters in your market, or it can be a specific trade body created just for digital radio, as has been the case in several European countries. In terms of licensing, one of the key aspects for me was this link between analog and digital licenses. So when you launch, broadcasters still are focused on analog licenses, on their FM licenses, because this is where they are making the money. So many countries, they attach to the analog license the obligation to launch in digital, in DAB. So broadcasters accepted this because this was part of the price of getting that analog license that actually was making them the money. But we see that when markets progress, what you need to do is to unlink those licenses. And we are seeing this in Germany, in Italy, in France, in Switzerland. So when the market for analog radio, for FM, is becoming smaller, some players can switch off those stations, return those licenses, and just focus on digital because they reduce costs. at a level that is higher than the money that they are not getting by not being in FM, right? So it's important to understand the timing of the different public policies. In terms of transmission, one of the key requests of the different players, notably broadcasters, was subsidized transmission costs. Is something that has also appeared in the survey for ASBU members, right? So in many cases, we know it's difficult to have the money to subsidize these transmission costs. So another way to approach this is to help broadcasters find the money by themselves. So for instance, they can expand the transmission area so they can reach like new advertisers. So another way is to give them an additional license so they can have a second channel. So they have an additional ad portfolio to sell to advertisers. So there are many ways in which you can approach this. And then in terms of reception, and this has already appeared during this morning, promote affordable devices, especially in cars. We see that this is more and more important. So these are just 4 of the policies that you will find there, but there are much more there in the toolbox. But for a moment, I would like to focus on this last one about the vehicles, the receivers in vehicles, because we have done a specific analysis of the European Electronic Communications Code. This was mentioned also by Bernie at the beginning of the session today. So we have analyzed that since this regulation was put in place, so this was 2019, end of 2018, so there have been more than 60 million vehicles, cars, sold in Europe with DAB+. Without that legislation, that figure would have been around half of it. So thanks to this piece of legislation, 30 million vehicles have DAB in European roads because this legislation was enacted in 2018. So it's great to see that also the countries of the Gulf Cooperation Council are progressing towards having this kind of legislation, because definitely this has probably been the most impactful policy measure ever taken in favor of DAB. And this has had a huge unintended consequence. Some years ago, one of the main concerns of the different stakeholders involved in DAB rollout was the lack of receivers, especially in cars. Thanks to this, what we are seeing is that the last remaining European countries without that legislation, now they have realized that they have thousands or even millions of receivers on wheels already there. So they are launching already with a good amount of receivers out there to receive those stations. So this explains the latest push for DAB+ in Spain, in Ireland, in some of the Balkans and the Baltics. So you have seen Bernie's map was having most of the European countries already in green, moving towards DAB+. And I believe that one of the main reasons of this momentum that we are seeing in Europe is because of this legislation. So if you are thinking about this kind of legislation, which automakers would find like, okay, normal, this is happening already in other markets, it's happening in the Arab countries, it's happening in Europe, so we know that this can happen. This means that in a few years, you will already have, without even realizing that you have all these thousands of millions or millions of devices available. So these are like, you will say, David, okay, this is great, but how do we do it, right? So in the toolbox, you will also find 12 strategic recommendations on how to implement these measures, right? So I will show you a few of them. First of all, set clear public interest goals. So it's not just about what you are gonna do to deploy DAB, but the first thought should be what we want to achieve with this, right? So what are the benefits that society and individuals will receive from having DAB+? This is a key strategic reflection that you need to do at the beginning of the process, right? You need to plan for resilience. You need a resilient network, of course, technical network, but you also need a resilient plan. So even if you have like moments with some doubt, because there will be ups and downs in the process, you can follow your plan and eventually move further. Very important, put audiences at the center of your policy. Audiences are not an afterthought. And we have seen this in several countries where DB Plus has been pushed by broadcasters, for instance, so the interests of broadcasters were well represented there, but audiences, nobody thought about audiences until a later stage. So that's why I'm glad to see that's happening in Arab countries where they are already considering the cost of accessing the devices by audiences. This is an example of how to put audiences at the center of your policy, and this is key for the success of your rollout and deployment. In this regard, FM is just the baseline that audiences expect. So you cannot offer less than FM, and you need to add on top of what you are already offering on FM. So I'm trying to say you need to add value with DAB+. Otherwise, this will not be attractive to audiences. Think about the business model, not just the tech. The tech, as I said, is proven, is tried and tested. You will need more or less power, more or less transmitter sites, a different network planning, but basically it works, right? You need to think about the business model of the broadcasters. You need to think about the business model of the broadcast network operators. Think about this. So this is your insurance to get them on board, right? And another recommendation is that you need to review your policy regularly, because as adoption progresses, the goals probably do change. So you need to be flexible enough to change your key policy objective at each point and introduce perhaps some new measures. So there is much more in the toolbox. What I recommend you is to go there. But finally, I will present some key takeaways for you as a summary of all this. So public policies for me is a kind of superpower that regulators, governments, policymakers have to bring different stakeholders together. This is an important aspect. Roll out DAB Plus much more quickly. A quicker rollout means savings for everybody involved. So this is a super interesting incentive for all the different stakeholders. Reduce uncertainty, which is the key to unlock commitment from the different stakeholders and bring investment from the different investors. If they see a clear plan, if they see a calendar, if they already know which the milestones will be and when do you expect them to be, this will unlock investment. This will bring the money that you need to develop the network and to launch like the new services, right? So there is no need to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is already invented, so copy it. But we have already seen that there is no universal solution for everybody. So you need to adapt these experiences from other countries to your own national reality. This is an important aspect. So there are many examples that can help you, but you need to adapt to your reality, right? And finally, get inspired by this toolbox, but this work that we have done on behalf of WorldDAB. Here you have the toolbox. You can access it basically from the website of WorldDAB. And of course, I will be happy to answer questions at the end of this presentation or after. So thank you very much for your attention this morning.
Thank you very much, Dr. David. That was very insightful. And in fact, there's a couple of real great points there. And the one I'd really like to pick up on just for a second is adapt your policy on the run. Yeah, as you say, as time goes by, things change, and your policy and regulations need to change with that. So it's always a useful thing if you can be flexible and understand there's a moving target, and that will make life a lot easier in the end. Okay, so we're now going to look at a couple of case studies. We now have one from Thailand and one from Algeria, two different sides of the world, same mission, get DAB done. So we're going to now go to Anyapon Tajuono, who's the Asia Regional Sales Manager for Panida, to talk about Thailand. So over to you, please, Anyapon. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you here at the presentation online today. So let's see the update from Thailand, and this is where I'm presenting from as well. So let me do the full presentation so you can see it much better. Okay, I hope that's okay, Les.
Yeah, that's
Excellent.
good. That's good.
Yep. Excellent. So basically, for those who are not aware of the progress in Thailand before, some of you might have heard about it already. We started a trial around 2019 and an upgrade on 2022. For the expansion in 22-23, we add more services in Chiang Mai, Khon Kaen, Chonburi. These are provinces, and Songkhla in the south. And are made available by the regulator in 2024 and has been announced in the Royal Gazette already put into effect. So, and as for the network provider, we now have 2 network provider in Bangkok on air, and there is another one network provider on air in the province Khon Kaen, which is the northeastern part of Thailand. We're expecting that the content provider license will be made available at the later half of this year. So that is the progress on the regulation side. Okay. And these are the plan. The plan consists of frequency plan, transmission plan, and the receiver plan or standard, if you want to call it. So that has been put in place for everybody here to follow. Now, as for the frequency plan, each of the listening area, you will see the number of the frequency there on the right. So each of the listening area will have 6 frequency available for the broadcast of DAB in each of the area. And as for the trial, we are obviously focusing on executing the frequency plan given by the regulator. We are looking at the audio contribution from the studio to the multiplexer, and of course the multiplexer and the transmission network, where the study and the survey on outdoor coverage and indoor coverage are the targets of our trial here. And of course, we will continue to experiment with different features of DAB, and that includes ASA and Thai characters. In Thailand, we have in total of around 3,000 radio stations, both being the main station of about 453 and the provincial station of around 2,494 across the country. So we have quite a lot of radio stations in Thailand. As for the implementation, we believe that centralization of the multiplexer or the head end, if you want to call it, is the most effective way of doing or implementing DAB broadcast, because of the fact that the maintenance is in one site. The support also can be made available at one location. The upgrade and the running, the cost efficiency and the scalability, it will be much easier than distributing the multiplex across the country. So centralized the way to go. In Thailand, we divide the network into one national network, which is obviously, if you're on this network, you can listen to the station anywhere in Thailand. And then we have the 10 regional networks, which basically we cut Thailand into 10 parts across the country. And then we have the provincial networks of about 34 networks. We're using about 25 frequency after sharing with Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, and Malaysia. So, and that allows us to own 6 frequency in within one listening area. Now, as for the frequency plan for the 34 area, basically we make the 34 area is an SFN because we believe that the smaller the SFN, the better way to go because of the complexity of maintaining large SFN. And in fact, in a certain part of Thailand, it would be impossible to achieve. If you look at the Gulf of Thailand area there, so it would be almost impossible. So we make the SFN as small as 34 area or networks, if you want to call it, where the multiplex on the 6th frequency will be one available for national network and another multiplexer for regional, and then the remaining 4 multiplex are there for the local radio stations. So how do we achieve that? Basically, if you prefer to be the national network provider, we just have to put you on all of the 34 SFNs. The same logic go for if you want to remain only regional, then you remain only one part of that, let's say upper north of Thailand, for example. Now, for the locals, then you remain broadcast in the listening area of one of the 34 listening area. So that's quite simple. And then we use, for the national network and regional, we are using service following to connect you together from one region traveling to another region. We are continue to experimenting with the Thai character, and with a bit of luck, let's have a look at the video here that we experimenting with. I hope you apologize if it's a bit too loud. So as you can see, that is the Thai character. So we are now broadcasting this in Bangkok already. So so that is basically where we are in terms of the Thai character. So now the next thing what we are doing is we consulting everybody. The presenter just before has also expressed the need for everybody in the industry to work together, being radio station, car association, electric car association, the electronic distributor of receivers, the system integrator, and of course, the technology provider in the area of DAB+. So at the moment, the signal is cover Bangkok area. However, the plan is to cover the provinces near Bangkok, 3 more provinces in Bangkok, because this form one listening area. So more site will be added in Bangkok to cover this area, and hopefully for the next step is we will be adding major cities and then connecting them with the major roads and get the car manufacturer to participate in these next steps, basically. The plan is now put in place to test the ASA automatic safety alert. Thailand has a lot of emergency issues across the country, being the flood and the fire and the PM 2.5 and so on. So the left here is the flood that was happening in Hat Yai last year, and is expecting that this flood will return this year in Hat Yai. So obviously there is a problem there to address, and we are planning to put ASA into test here in Bangkok, and hopefully we will have the opportunity to tell you how we go about testing ASA in Thailand. Now, for those who are interested in the topics and you'd like to hear what Thailand is up to, the information are made available on this page. And I think we all in here together, so we should share our experience on DAB, and we can learn from each other on how to go about making DAB successful. So on that note, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to some of the questions from the participant here today, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anyapon. It's great to see Thailand moving forward with a really positive plan, and especially actually testing the ASO. As you say, Thailand does suffer a lot of disaster issues with the weather and so forth. So that's great. Now let's hear from Amar Ziad from TDA in Algeria, and Amar's going to talk about progress on DAB in his country. So over to you, please, Amar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Les. Sorry, just to prepare my presentation. Okay. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody where you are. My name is Amar Ziad. I'm Director of Studies and Development from Algeria Broadcasting. 1 minute just to... Okay, no. What is my... Okay, first I would like to thank WorldDAB, ASBU, and ABU for organizing for this workshop, and for giving us the opportunity to sharing our DAB deployment. Today I will present. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happened in my screen. Today I will present an overview of radio broadcasting in Algeria. The progress we have made with the DAB+, the road for the success deployment of DAB in Algeria, and our vision. Before discussing DAB+ in Algeria, let me briefly introduce Algeria's broadcasting environment. Algeria is the largest country in Africa, covering more than 2 million square kilometers with 68 provinces. Providing reliable radio services over such a vast territory is a significant technical challenge. Today, Algeria operates 9 public national radio services and 48 regional radio services. To ensure nationwide coverage, we rely on 3 complementary broadcasting technology: FM, AM, and future DAB+. Each technology has its own role, depending on geographical and operational requirements. Our FM network consists at around 4,000 transmitter sites equipped with almost 1,000 transmitters. The FM provides national and regional radio coverage across the country. However, in the southern part of the country, where population is widely dispersed and the distances are very large, AM broadcasting continues to play a vital role, ensuring a reliable radio coverage. So, why Algeria investing in DAB+? Our FM network has served the country successfully for decades. but it's now facing several important limitations. First, the FM band is becoming saturated, making it difficult to introduce new radio services. Also, operating around 1,000 FM transmitter requires significantly energy consumption and result in high operational cost. This is why we considering DAB Plus as the next step in the evolution of our radio broadcasting network. DAB offer an efficient solution. It allows multiple radio programs to be broadcast on a single frequency block, significantly improve spectrum efficiency. It also reduces energy consumption, lower operating cost, increases programs capacity, and introduce no digital services as text, information, and images. Another advantage for Algeria is spectrum availability. The VHF band 3, which was used for analog television, became available after the analog switch-off completed in 2022, providing excellent spectrum resources for future nationwide deployment. To ensure sustainable deployment, Algeria has adopted a phases implementation strategy for DAB+. This approach takes into account technical progress, operational experience, market maturity, and receiver availability. Our strategy consists of 4 phases. The first was the technical trial launched in 2018. The second phase, currently in progress, focuses on launching operational DAB services in Greater Algiers. Future phase will progressively extend coverage to northern cities and along the main road corridor, particularly the East-West Highway, and finally, a nationwide coverage. Our first trial began in 2018 at the site situated in the east of Algiers, the capital of Algeria. The site provides coverage for approximately 68% of the population of Greater Algiers. The trial used transmitter with the 600 watt operating on channel 5B. Initially, 4 radio programs were broadcast. In 2021, the pilot station was relocated to the other site situated in the center of Algiers, where a virtual hidden based on Panida and Factom technology were tested. The multiplex was expanded to carry 13 radio services. This operation enabled our engineer team to acquire valuable hands-on experience in multiplex configuration, network management, virtual hidden architecture. During the trial, TDA carried out an extensive field measurement campaign across the coverage area. The objective was to evaluate the network under a real operation condition. The measurement result confirmed that the trial radio coverage was in line with the prediction coverage and confirmed the technical feasibility of DAB+ in the Algeria environment. Following the success of the trial, we are now entering the first operation deployment phase. A new 5 kilowatt DAB+ transmitter will be installed in the short time at the Sharia site transmission located in the south of Algiers. This transmitter will significantly increase coverage across Greater Algiers and 4 neighboring provinces and improve services continuity along a major route corridor. The system will support up the 18 radio services, providing excellent population coverage in Algiers. This first operational transmitter will also allow us to launch a public awareness campaign and prepare for the nationwide rollout. Following this phase, TDA plans to progressively extend the DAB+ network to the major northern cities, densely populated area, and the country's main road corridor, particularly the east-west highway, which connect the principal cities in the north of a country. However, deploying transmitter alone is not enough. The successful implementation of DAB also require a clear and enabled national regulatory framework, including developing the national regulatory framework for DAB+, define the roadmap for digital radio implementation, strong coordination among national stakeholders, broadcaster, regulatory equipment supply, and industry stakeholders, communication sector. Support the future opening of the audio-visual sector by enable the terrestrial broadcast of private radio services. I just to add that currently TDA broadcast only public services. We propose to the authority to change to regulatory amendment, propose to the necessary regulatory amendment, which are currently under review by the competent authority. This evaluation will represent for TDA a major step in the development of DAB+. Our version is clear. In the short and the middle term, we do not see DAB as a replacement for FM, but rather as a complementary digital platform that will enrich Algeria's broadcasting landscape by expanding radio services, improving spectrum efficiency, and introducing new digital capacity. Our objective is to build efficiency and sustainable hybrid broadcasting ecosystem when FM, AM, and DAB+ coexist and complement each other according to the need of each region. By following a gradual development strategy and working closely with all stakeholders, we are confident that DAB+ will play a central role in the future of radio broadcasted in the country. Finally, I would like to conclude by saying the deployment of DAB+ is much more than a technological upgrade. It's a long-term national project that requires a careful planning, strong cooperation, and long-term commitment from all stakeholders. The experience gained through our pilot project has given us confidence and provided a solid foundation for the next phase of deployment to move forward step by step. We look forward to working closely with WorldDAB, ASBU, and the international partners to make digital radio a success in Algeria. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Omar. Very insightful again. Algeria is a big country, and I see your phased approach seems very sensible, and you're taking a step at a time. That's great. Also, the fact that you mention the support organisations, ASBU, WorldDAB, and so forth, we're always available to assist and provide guidance when we can. So thank you very much for that presentation. That's great. Well, we're a bit over time. We've got a couple of Q&A questions. I'm thinking maybe just one or two. Jackie, would you be able to answer one for us? I'll read it out.
Yes, please, if you can read it out, because I don't see the questions, or maybe I should have seen them, but
it's in the Q&A box.
yeah, I am. Yeah, but my screen is apparently a bit different from the others. I already had contact on the back of it, but fortunately for the rest, it's all working. So I'm sorry. I do see you, which would be okay, but I do not see any other questions.
All right. I'll get one for you and one for Bernie. Okay, so and they're both from the same person as Rani.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to it. I hope I can
Okay,
answer.
so I'm going to give you the second question first, and that was one. Where do you see the play between DAB Plus and IP streaming over the next decade? Are we looking at permanent hybrid model, or will broadcast digital always hold the edge in terms of free-to-air reliability?
Well, I think the last remark is, I don't know exactly what hold the edge means, but I do believe that broadcast forms a backbone for now and many years to come, which is really, really necessary. On top of that, hybrid, yes, I believe that is a strength, because what it can do, for example, through developers like what's happening in with Radio Ready in Europe, and with technical partners like Radio Player, it makes it possible in cars to have FM, DAB+, and IP combined. By default, it's DAB, which is broadcast, and it enables through IP to go into even deep linking or podcasts or any other online only situation through the broadcast button. So it goes too far to explain completely, but I'm a strong believer in that model. But always with the entry of broadcast, so not become dependent on aggregators or online IP.
It's a good succinct answer, I think. The bottom line is the radio industry develops and DAB goes along and helps it grow.
Yes.
Whether it's with a DAB backbone and an IP side channel, you might say, we can do a lot of different things, and we are doing that, particularly in cars. Okay, time is short, so I guess last question. This one for you, Bernie. What are the biggest cost benefit hurdles when migrating from an established analog AM FM infrastructure to a DAB Plus network, especially for regional coverage? You have a go at that one, please, Bernie.
I'll have a go. I would say at the outset that further in this webinar, we will cover build out of coverage and at the more technical level. But for today's presentations, I think it's best to say that there's no one size fits all on the migration model. And I think what we see, and David would probably very much echo this, is that it's the biggest challenge is actually the stakeholder alignment and not the technology, because the technology's there, it's proven. And yes, there is an initial investment required as with any technology upgrade, and there's a temporary simulcast period. And but the long-term benefits, I think we made those clear. It's obviously the more efficient spectrum use and the much lower cost per program, and the ability to have more stations and more services, and then the enhanced hybrid experience with data and all that brings, and of course also with the ASA emergency warning capabilities. So a regional rollout, it can be phased. I think a couple of the examples I showed demonstrated that to start with major population centres and then expand as the listening grows and as the regulatory incentives are developed and offered. And you know, the success is that collaboration, and the DAB Plus public policy toolbox that David mentioned is definitely a resource to look at here, along with the other resource that you worked on for us, Les, which is the DAB Plus deployment ebook. And again, I think Michelle, my colleague, will share both of those with participants after this webinar.
Thanks, Bernie. Yes, very wise words. It's not technical. The technical aspects are well known. It's really getting that alignment of stakeholders. And once you get that, you actually have a real force to move forward. I've seen that in many countries as well. So gathering like minds to move forward with a plan that you can, you know, mold as you go and as you learn, and learn from all the other countries that have done the same thing. So all good words. So we've reached the end of the day. Thank you everybody for hanging around. We are a little bit over time, I know, but hopefully it's been useful. I would really like to now thank all of our presenters for their efforts and their offerings of their knowledge and guidance that they provide in these webinars. So thank you all. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Anyapon. Thank you, Dr. David. Thank you, Amar. Who did I miss? Me. Only kidding. So we're back tomorrow. We're on to a less commercial and more technical tomorrow and day 3. And hopefully you'll be able to join us for some of those dives into what's changed, what's good, and how we're moving forward and keeping track and pace with the ever-evolving technology we deal with. So it's always a challenge. So for now, I'd say thank you for your attendance. There'll be a little brief questionnaire at the end of this, I believe, this Zoom session. If you can fill that in, it should only take a minute or so. That would be much appreciated. And hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much. And bye for now. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Oh, Bassil. I forgot Bassil. That's who I forgot. I knew I forgot someone. Thank you, Bassil.
Bye, Bassil.
Cheers. And all of our friends at ABU and ASBU. Good stuff. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Les. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.